So let me start with myself, Manoj Agarwal, Group Editor at Banking Frontiers magazine. The company name is Global Infomart Private Limited. Not everyone knows that. We are much better known for the publication Banking Frontiers. It's a 21-year-old publication. Started off as a banking technology publication, but now covers not only technology but business, marketing, HR, risk, compliance, almost everything. And not only banking but insurance, mutual funds, NBFCs, all those most common verticals. We are not into hedge funds and venture capital and some of those exotic areas.
Hi, this is Ankush here. I head marketing at Exponentia.
I am Ashish Yadav. I work with Exponentia and I look after the BFSI sector over there. My key role is to identify use cases which make sense and can generate value for the customers.
Hi everyone, I'm Shalu Kaushik. I take care of the digital part of the business for Tata Capital. Been with the company for 5 years. Prior to that, I was with ICICI Bank. So for almost 2 decades, I've been in the financial industry, taking care of various sides of the business, sales, marketing, product, and now part of digital across assets and liabilities. So that's about me.
Hi, good morning everyone. My name is Ruchi Lamba. I'm part of the DataBricks team. I'm a senior account executive with DataBricks, been with the company for about 2 years plus now. And in my role, I predominantly work with companies which are in the emerging enterprise, startup, few digital native companies, and been working with a lot of NBFCs, fintechs over the last 2 years.
Hi everyone, I'm Virendra. I head analytics and data science for Lendin Club. From last 14-15 years, I'm trying to cope up with this field because every month, new or other technology comes up. So in my free time, I try to see if I'm still hands-on, can I develop a model myself or can I deploy something new? So that's my hobby, to learn something new. Maybe not that relevant to my level, but suppose some new technologies come, Gen AI come, new model got published by some or other institutions. So I try to see what can be done, how it can be done.
Hello everyone, I'm Ashwin. I manage sales for some of the emerging enterprise accounts for DataBricks.
Hi, good morning. I'm Anand Bhatia. I'm the CMO at Fino Payments Bank. I also wear the hat of analytics. So I often have a very funny time trying to figure out the ROI of my own spends. So that's what occupies most of the working day for me. Other than that, if you stay around Lokhandwala, Andheri, Juhu, that area, very often we might just bump into each other running on the roads. So pretty fond of running, and that's what kind of keeps me going and helps me cope with BFSI. An entrepreneur in an earlier life, it's actually my first stint as a marketer or anything to do with analytics.
Hi everyone, my name is Shubhrata Das. I represent Ugru Capital. I'm the Chief Innovation Officer. And in my role, we are trying to solve the credit problems of MSMEs in India through data and tech. So very passionate about AI, ML. I'm also a statistician. So that's what we do. Very glad to be here and looking forward to the conversation.
Good morning everyone. Madhusudan Warrior, CTO, employed with Mirai Asset Capital Markets. Over 3 decades of experience, primarily in the BFSI. So I have worked with companies like ICICI, IDFC, and the House of Tatas also. So,
Okay.
I'm from Exponentia, so working as a part of the sales team. Basically, I closely work with the CPG business at Exponentia, manufacturing and NBFC companies as well.
Hi, good morning everyone. My name is Ankit Goenka and I head CX for Bajaj Allianz General Insurance.
Hey, hi, good morning everyone. I'm Atul Bhandari. I head the digital business at Tata AI Life Insurance. I've been more than 20 years plus in the BFSI space, but predominantly in banking. So there's been a bit of shift of roles, functions, even geographies for that matter.
Morning everyone. My name is Vikas Dhankad and I'm Chief Technology Officer at New Growth Credit Private Limited. And in that role, I'm responsible for pretty much every aspect of technology, whether it is software development, IT compliance, forming policies around IT compliance, as well as then data science initiatives. So all of it is under me.
Hi everyone, this is Pawan Patil. I am from Profectus Capital. It's NBFC who serves the MSMEs, right? I have a good experience of implementing Finacle. If some of you know the Finacle, right? It's a core banking solution by the Infosys. I have worked with Infosys, Hewlett Packard, IBM, and now I'm working with Profectus Capital. So in my current role, I am trying to align myself with my credit and sales teams to understand their problems and trying to give them meaningful solutions so that they become more efficient doing their business.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Suyo Kulkarni, and I head data science for Sher Khan by BNP Paribas. So I've been with Sher Khan for around 5 years now, predominantly working in the area of marketing analytics, digital analytics, setting up a vehicle for digital outreaches. Prior to Sher Khan, I was with ICICI Bank and HDFC Bank, together almost a decade. I worked with a credit bureau as well, called Experian. So I got the opportunity of looking at data use cases across a wide range of domains.
All right. Morning, everyone. Wonderful to see all of you. My name is Hemant Dabke. I'm responsible for the enterprise business at DataBricks. We are a young and old startup out of UC Berkeley. Now old when I say 10 years old, but most of our growth is last 4 to 5 years, especially in India. It's been last few years that we experiencing a very, very high growth rate. So most of my wakeful hours go in servicing the customers. One of the things, Manoj, you asked what would be my wish. The wish would be to service everyone here in this room as DataBricks.
Morning, everyone. This is Preetham Vyas. I am from DataBricks. I manage the conglomerate business within the enterprise segment in the country. So I work very closely with Hemant.
Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Vivek. I head India business for Exponentia.ai. So Exponentia is almost a 10-year-old company, and we are very focused in BFSI space. So we help our customers implement data platforms and helping them take data-driven decisions.
Okay, so here's the first question. Would you call generative AI-based transformation a continuation of digital transformation that we are seeing so far, or a new wave of transformation that you expect to happen?
I'm Shankar. I'm from India First Life Insurance. I take care of technology and data science.
Right.
Okay. So this question, correct? In my view, so Gen AI is like what do you call an animal which needs to be tamed. It's just not something which you can say that, hey, this is something which is a new breed which has come in, which is part of a domesticated animal which I can manage. So that's not how it is going to be. It's a animal which needs to be tamed. So in my view, it needs a lot of work, what we need to do, because it's like when we are connecting human brain, how it can think to truncate it or to make sure that to follow a transaction or follow something, it needs a lot of effort and a lot of things which needed. It's a very good hook, very good tool to, very good in my technology, in my view to use, but it is going to be a different transformation. It can't be called as an extension to a digital transformation.
Okay.
It needs a different thinking altogether.
It's a different animal and it's a wild animal.
Wild animal, yeah.
Okay, I like that analogy. Who else has something to share?
Can you hear me? Yeah. So, according to my view, see, Gen AI term got coined, let's say, last 2 years or 1.5 years before. But before that also, we were using lot of algorithms which were in direction of Gen AI. For example, Monte Carlo Marco Chase simulation. These are kind of algorithm were there back in 2012 also. And we were doing the probabilistic modeling. It's a kind of sequence chain modeling where we can predict the future basis the sequence of event. And it was generating the situation or simulation where we can predict the market share of any competitor or we can predict the market share of our also. So I believe this kind of algorithm were already there. It's just that now we start using this kind of algorithm in terms of neural network to generate the new voices or new text or sometimes something new. So I believe it is the part of digital transformation. It has been getting used in the past. Now it will be used in bigger way because now more people understand this. Otherwise, and in my perspective, this will evolve in a long way because now it is helping not only in a simple use cases like earlier people used to think chat GPT, all those things is related to chatbot and all those things. Now it will get used in advanced use cases also where it will help in decision making. So it's a part of a digital transformation only. It was getting used previously, but now will get used in better way because now more people understand this.
Good. Thank you so much. Go ahead. Go ahead.
This is definitely an important continuation of the kind of models that we have been using. One of the major changes, though, has been that earlier set of models, which we typically called statistical model, regression models, then came supervised ML, required a lot of labeled data, wherein the Y variable had to be there. Large language models are slightly different. So from supervised learning, we have moved to self-supervised learning through transformers. And that, I think, is going to be a major change, and that is opening a lot of use cases. There are two types of use cases here. One is use cases driving productivity, efficiency, and use cases where you can do automated decision making. I think automated decision making is some distance away, but this change of generative AI is going to bring a lot of efficiencies into productivity enhancements. That's what I feel.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds good. One last observation.
Yeah, so I believe Gen AI is going to transform the digital transformation itself, right? So what used to be achieved through the conventional software based on the rules and the programming logic, right? That is more and more getting transformed into data-driven outcomes, right? So your softwares or your solutions would be more based on the generic solutions coming out of AI based on the data. So that's where I feel that more we will be moving away from conventional softwares towards the Gen AI based solutions.
Right, right. Sounds good, sounds good. So let's move on then to our next question. What are some of the use cases, AI and ML led use cases that you're already implementing or looking to implement or planning to implement either in your organization or in your industry vertical as a whole, whether it's insurance or mutual funds? Yes, Anand.
This is a very big area of work for us increasingly on two fronts. So I'll take the marketing part first.
Okay.
Really. So use of this for generating content has become core to our marketing campaigns currently. In fact, I think in the last about 4 months, almost 70-80% of the content that we have put out there is machine generated.
Okay.
So right from very, very short videos. So we did something during the Independence Day as to how a Fino outlet would have looked like on 15th August 1947. Now it did generate a lot of response in the market. The feedback was pretty good. It just created a nice kind of buzz and a feel around that. But that was more the fluff. But on a very, very practical side, a lot of our campaigns today, the images that we're using, and increasingly we are using this to even write some of the notifications that we want to send out to customers. So that's more of an experiment. But content, we've started a lot of it now. And I just see that growing significantly in the next some time. It does pose certain ethical issues at times as to whose image is it, who is this person. But I guess we'll probably cross that bridge once it really kind of blows up in our faces. But till that point in time, I think it's a pretty good journey.
On that point, is it driven by efficiency or quality of output or ability to personalize? What is the key
So
driver?
it's a mix of everything. So obviously efficiency. Secondly is that, see, in a very conventional sense, if I wanted a particular look or something, or I'm generating content, I'm sitting with the agency, we're saying, okay, let's shoot this like this. See, there's still no, I would still say that, a lot of live shoots or certain videos or ads that you would make have a place, because there is still a certain kind of emotion that a human brings to the table, right? But when there is some static stuff or really small stuff that you want to do, it definitely makes it efficient. Cost definitely works out. But very importantly, it gives you variety. And variety is the name of the game when you're engaging with consumers online. Right? They need to see something new regularly. And that's why marketers invest in content. So from that part, it works very, very well. The ML side, as we've already said, a lot of this is math that has existed. Right? It's not a new math in that sense. But yeah, it allows you for more flexibility. So there again, on a lot of the renewal modeling that we've been doing, on cross-sell propensity, which merchants to back, which kind, how do you rate your customers, etc. So again, it's been a core part of our analytics work over the last some years. And now it's paying dividends in that sense. So for us, it's been a very good journey and something that we would love to keep investing into it as we keep going forward.
Sounds good, sounds good.
And just to add to what Anand just mentioned, and picking a point from you, talked about personalization, right? Right. So if you look at this entire AI, ML, or Gen AI, I put it in 3 Vs. Okay, they are actually making these 3 Vs very relevant and easy to implement, which is voice, video, and vernacular. Right? You can actually hyper personalize across these 3 form factors, at a real time. Right, so a very simple use case, somebody is interacting or chatting with you, let's say in a Malayalam, right? Now at the back end, an agent, if you have an agent, right, he or she may not understand Malayalam, right? But the technology is translating that in a real time with some summary as well, right, in English or a Hindi,
Right.
Right? The agent is responding back in his native language. But the customer is actually seeing that or listening that in Malayalam, right? So, simple use case.
What was science fiction earlier is now happening
It's
today.
a reality, right? And at the same time, you can put videos, like Anand mentioned, right? You can generate real-time videos, which could be, obviously personalized, but, real informative stuff. Because
And I
seeing
think
is
that
believing.
vernacular has leaped what was always a challenge for any business to reach out with 15 different languages
Absolutely.
or 40 different dialects or 100 different dialects across the country.
And I personally feel video is the thing, We are already seeing on the Instagram reels and everything, right? The current generation, who's going to come into the real world, very soon, they are used to this.
Yes.
They are used to these videos, right? For them, everything is around that. Right? So these technologies for organization to adopt and have everything in a video form, I guess, is going to be the game changer.
I remember as kids, we used to fantasize about video phones. Those phones were only, along with the rotary dial, there's only voice. And science fiction, video used to be science fiction, but it's
Absolutely,
amazing.
yeah. And
for the new
vernacular, of course,
generation-
from Bharat's standpoint, just to add.
Okay.
Right, because we are only going to talk about, the tier 1, tier 2 cities, but what about those villages, talukas? That's the real Bharat, right?
Absolutely.
So there the vernacular thing, talking in their language makes a lot of difference. And without technology, having a distribution, in that fashion is going to be very, very costly.
Sounds good. Thanks for that summary. The triple V. Shalu?
Yeah, so I feel generative AI has opened opportunity for a lot of things to be operated internally and externally. When I say internally, within organization, we can do a lot of things. Externally, we can do a lot for our stakeholders, be it shareholders, be it customers and all. Talking about use cases, I think there are plethora of use cases which comes to mind, like a customer experience, like marketing, like efficiency driver, like data science models. But the question to be answered or to be first addressed is the ROE, followed by prioritization. So answering what we have implemented, obviously, currently the immediate ROE in certain places are not very obvious. So because of various reasons, how do you convert it into a real use case from a business aspect? Wherever possible, we are trying to drive that because the cost to output ratio, specifically in the current timing, I'm sure 5 years down the line, we may not be talking about this kind of ROE because the cost may itself come down from an overall perspective. What we have implemented from our organization standpoint is currently more from a customer experience led and efficiency drivers. So within that bucket, we have multiple things like a customer facing platform, which is digital platforms, customer coming to our platform, we are able to use generative AI and able to give a better customer experience. Just to share some numbers that if our earlier cognitive bot was able to answer close to 76% of first time right, it has gone up to 98% first time right. And that 2% is also on the failure counts or hallucination count. that we are able to monitor. So these are certain things which we believe that the customer experience has gone up. From an efficiency driver, obviously we are a lending business company, so here a lot of processes comes into place, and there are multiple opportunities where we believe that cognitive plus generative AI put together can help us bringing down a TAT for the customer, turnaround time, or be able to produce better output per employee. Those are the kind of things which we are implementing.
Any examples of internal facing applications that are?
Yeah, so I think even in internal facing also, like for an HR today, for a large organization where there are employees asking so many questions, and per employee we have so per 300 employees we have one HR resource. So if we have a person or a bot answering and helping to that extent, on the go, that will be quite a big game changer. Like another use case which we are trying, which obviously we've not been able to produce out, we are testing out that can we do a first level round of interview for the entry level person for our organization, where we will have an avatar sitting in front who will be asking relevant questions. Basis the answers, can he or the avatar keep changing the next level of question to be asked? Something like an OPQ kind of thing, can that put it back to the candidate and then come back with an answer and do the filtration process. By doing that, we believe we'll be able to get a better candidate, and next round will be much easier for us. So
already we are seeing a variety of use cases and applications. Something from Exponentia or DataBricks, what are you guys seeing as the emerging use cases?
See, in BFSI, we are talking to literally lakhs and millions of customers, right? I think all the entities represented here has a huge variety, plethora, range of customers. But when you go, who becomes a customer, right? There's someone who's even at a prospect stage, who then eventually becomes a customer. If you take the funnel to that level, you're actually talking of 10x, 100x kind of consumers and not necessarily customers that you're kind of working with.
Yes.
And there the conversations also go beyond the predictability of things, right? A customer conversation is something you can predict because you know he has a specific thing to ask. He may want to know the maybe how to get a certificate. He may want to know how to get a specific rate available for a particular type of loan and so on. So customer conversations can be more predictable. But when you look at prospect conversations, now they could be completely unpredictable, right? This is someone who's not necessarily even confirmed to kind of go into your category. Therefore, the conversations are more flexible. They would be more closer to a human conversation. I'm just trying to identify what is good for me rather than kind of trying to do a predictable path on a decision tree which can be solved for maybe by the current maths. I think where Gen AI comes in and can become very powerful over a period of time is that they are able to handle and get some of these unpredictable conversations into some kind of a rhythm and then bring them into a structure which could potentially then ease out maybe the costs, maybe the efficiencies, maybe the reach of an organization when they are actually figuring out who is interested, right, in talking to you in a more serious fashion, who could be a potential customer for you beyond the consumer that you're kind of seeing all across. So I think that's one significant shift which the current setup versus potentially what a Gen AI could become could kind of create that differentiation.
Yeah, absolutely right. In fact, that's probably the tougher territory because there's more unknowns there. But let's see how it pans out. Yes.
Yeah. So basically, when I look at multiple clients and what I figured out when it comes to cost or the benefit that you get from AI or ML, the whole idea is to see where the output impacts the most. We all had predictions beforehand. We all knew, okay, these many clients would maybe churn out, or these are easier to pick up customer segments. We all knew that. But the fact that that prediction and that segment or those intelligence in coming to individuals, your salespeople, if they are able to know, okay, while they're chatting, they suddenly get a ping from the generative AI, okay, this is a particular customer segment, you should pitch him this product. That is how it goes. So now instead of keeping that intelligence to the management level and trying out 5 years or a year-old marketing campaign, what's happening is you're trickling down the whole effect to the last FLS, frontline salesperson, So that is how you get some, ROI over there. On the other side, let us say you're looking at claims. So those things still, they don't have mass application, but there only ML models work out. So instead of looking at something whether my individuals can interact with the output of a predictive model, let us say underwriting models or those kind of things, claims models, then what happens is that AI part doesn't make much sense, but the output, because the cost or the cost that you're incurring on your workforce, it's not justified. So I think ML predictions and those predictions being, tangible to you through AI or ML, through AI, you need to draw that line. Okay, if this is there are too many individuals, I cannot double my sales force, but I can enable it with it trickling down to each of them, put in an AI. But if it's not to that level, then maybe an ML works for you. Maybe after a few years when you grow up, then you can use it. So that's an approach I have seen, hyper-personalization for that matter. So there are clients who are doing hyper-personalization and they are doing it both internally and externally. What would be internal? To a certain sales agent, every day, tweaks are going through him, intelligence passing through him. If you do this much, then your incentive would be that much. You are still lacking and you need to cover this task up by 30th of this month. That helps them to again improve, kind of their productivity. So it is where you place it. And then you have to see it from a business side. Whether I can trickle this whole intelligence down to everyone or I should limit it to certain levels. And I think that is where you get the bang for the buck.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
So targeted marketing, I think we've got our customers who are already using a lot of AI models to really focus on whom to target and how to target. Both are equally important. Okay, because if you look at today, especially in the NBFC and even banking side, voice is predominant when it comes to campaigns. And the amount of time and the money that you spend, even if it is at 11 paise per call, you spend a ton of money on just calling customers like all of us sitting in this room who are very choosy about what we buy and how we buy, or what we select and how we select, right? So that we've got customers who already deploying models and really making sure the efficacy as well as cost of their campaigns, is improved drastically. The second thing is there's a whole lot of compliance case studies that are being deployed by our customers. Banks, a lot more. Even on the NBFC, for example, you need to look at delinquency. You need to look at when the delinquency is going to happen or when the customer is going to default, and so on and so forth. Your ability to predict and hence your ability to take the corrective actions. A lot of dependence on the external models, for NBFCs, because you are dependent on the third-party scores, right? Vis-a-vis banks who are building their own scorecards. Banks are building, for millions and millions of their own customers, they're building their own rating score, which then they linking it to for all the cross-sells and upsells.
Right.
Okay, so there's a massive, I would say, play right now from a DataBricks perspective that we are seeing for our customers. And I know I'm going to quickly jump into some of your next questions, but on that point, your ability to train with your own data inside, your enterprise, vis-a-vis, train on the external data or your models going out of the organization. That's another big area for our customers.
So when you engage with a customer with lots and lots of data, let's say 50 years of data, versus let's say a neobank with 1 year of data,
right?
How does your solution kind of work for both?
See, so for us, it is really about how well you are able to build models, how quickly you are able to build models, and how easily you are able to deploy them. Okay. So the strength of the platform comes from your ability to build, train, and deploy.
Okay.
Now, size of the data is really dependent on the use case, not just the legacy. Right?
Okay.
For example, a bank with 110 million customers who wants to build, let's say, a rating score, will look at 110 million into X, records. Okay, that's the nature of the use case.
Right.
Okay, but an NBFC who's got, let's say, a 3-year or a 4-year or a 5-year data of a customer, or majority of the times no data when they are offering lending, as a point of sale, right? So they are dependent on the external score only. There's not much you can do about it. But your models will help you do underwriting. Your models will help you, effectively looking at the social, looking at, all other channels, looking at cross-app, crawling. It'll help you get insight into the buying pattern, and hence your ability to quickly, build the next best option.
So in a sense, what I'm getting, if I extrapolate what you're saying, the different use cases might be different.
That's right.
For an organization with lots of data versus organization with lesser data.
No, both have similar kind of use cases, but young organizations, will go more horizontal rather than the legacy data.
Right. Sound good. Okay, but let's move fast.
So from the tech company's perspective, being Exponentia and AI and interacting with the customer, delivering projects for the customer, it is very important for us that, how soon you can deliver projects for our customers, right? So it is a very small use case, but in the ocean of all the very important use cases that you all have, probably this will get lost. So that's the reason I wanted to just press upon this one. So it is very important that, also we are implementing, data pipelines for our customer, BI and analytics use cases for our customer. So often it is seen that complexity levels of whatever we are implementing is in the ratio of the highly complex being 10, medium complex being 40, and simple codes being 50%, right? So it is very important that how fast you can deliver this implementation. So the platforms like DataBricks or Power BI or Click, they offer code generators, the AI-based code generator wherein you can type in a natural language and the codes are generated. So you don't have to, so currently the market challenge is that you don't get very good technical resources to do the implementation. So with the emergence of generative AI, the code generation, so these things will become very easy now. So you have to get a guy who has more business acumen than a technical acumen to get the things implemented, right? So yesterday when I was, implementing a project in 6 months, probably I can implement and deliver that project in 3 months, So that's how it will help the tech companies like us. Yeah, so that just my 2 cents.
On all the correct, that's true. It's accelerating everything. Okay, which of your normal analytics projects or traditional AI projects are likely to transform into generative AI projects in a period of, let's say, 12 months? What do you see as the possibilities? Are you going to start projects more from scratch, which are completely new, or convert existing ones? And some of you said it's an extension of digital transformation. So maybe that angle can come in here. Yes, Subrut.
The projects that will transform the fastest are where predictive AI capabilities and Gen AI capabilities will complement each other as a broad sense. So I was saying that areas where predictive AI and Gen AI complement each other will transform the fastest. Normally in any processes we have a data assimilation, some prediction and some action which involves creation. And wherever this pattern manifests in the best possible way, I think those will turn the fastest. I want to mention 2 specific things which are of special interest to me. One is cross-sell. We have already spoken about that a little bit. But the perspective I want to share is traditionally across the industry, the way we do cross-sell, it is always campaign-led. And where we are targeting customers with a pitch. Now, we are expecting that the customers need that product at the time when we are reaching out to the customer. But fundamentally, perhaps the best sales is done when the customer is always warmed up to us. And at the time when he needs it, he feels like contacting us. So the purpose is a little different. Through a series of communications to the customer, which will range from a completely non-sales pitch to a soft nudge to a pitch, you achieve the fact that the customer is always warmed up to you. We go away from the fact that we're expecting the customers to be in the right frame of mind to speak and say yes whenever we are coming. And I think this could be, of course, a lot of people are doing it in various extents, but to really achieve this engagement at a hyper-customized way, I think Gen AI could give a fantastic push. I think that's one thing which I am personally trying to understand. And the second point which comes here is the fact that this will also, all this to succeed, it requires execution, and there's a need of upskilling people, upskilling and learning at various parts of the organization. Even today, the efforts in our teams are largely verticalized. I mean, some people are specialists at some things.
Right.
But if GenAI is able to do this in such a customized manner, then perhaps a lot of people will have to do a lot of things together. And I think that that itself also could be accelerated by GenAI itself. To establish training to multiple people in multiple forms and achieve the objective that people get better. I think this is another area. So in my mind, these two things are very exciting, and I would be watching these two spaces.
Sounds good. Thank you so much. That's interesting. No, you can use GenAI to do other GenAI projects better.
That's the third point. It seems possible.
Yeah, you can link it together. Yeah.
So I'll talk about a project that we are doing. In fact, you mentioned Berkeley, so that's where it also triggered the thought. We are working with the University of Berkeley on a very interesting project where we have a very large and spread out merchant network, and they communicate, right? So they will say something. Now, what we've done is, and this is going to be something in the next 12 months that will really become bigger and bigger as we go. We've ingested all the training content, the scheme bulletins, and whatever we would have. And every time the guy responds, the machine detects what is it that he wants and tries to put something around that. Right? Saying that, you're struggling with insurance, say, watch this, do that, etc. I think we're hedging a lot of bets on this, that this will have a huge impact on activation and cross-sell and all the other good metrics that one is looking at. And this is only possible with the use of one extremely good compute, and the fact that there is an LLM which is backing it, and the use of again certain amount of content coming in. So to the question that in the next 12 months, what is going to keep us really excited? That's something there, and I guess hopefully it will be some kind of a document also that will come out with the university the next few months.
But what is the university's role in this?
So they actually have a team that's helping us build some of this stuff.
Okay.
So it's a very collaborative project. We've been working with them for a bit, and again, it also what it does is it just raises the overall capability in the ecosystem. So at least for us as an organization also, we've been able to move forward because of this kind of collaboration.
What I believe will not go full hog is we are regulated entities. So more to do with the personal data-led use cases, I still see some time away, because there are a lot of guardrails, there are a lot of things one has to keep in mind, various regulations plus the new laws on data protection, and the infra layers, what the AI today is offering. So that may take a while. So I feel content, as one of the colleagues said here, more content. It's more FAQ, more content, more marketing, which will probably, I believe, in the BFI sector will take off in next 12 months.
Okay. I want to ask one question. So there are all these use cases which are mostly customer facing. What if you look at the other way around? Have any of your CEOs said, give me the day's summary? Can you use AI, generative AI, to give me a summary of what's happened either within the organization, maybe looking at 10,000 emails and whatever else, or from the external world where there are 50,000 news sources? Have your management started asking you these kind of questions?
So if I take that point, yeah, of course these are, but then the point which I said earlier, the ROE has to be, because there has to be a lot to do with the ROE. Implementation is not just a Wi-Fi and it's a cost. These questions are asked, but what is to be prioritized? That's the point to be answered first.
So maybe beyond 12 months.
Yes.
And anyone else in your organization?
No, maybe next 12 months for us, right? So at NeoGrowth, most of our softwares are, core business softwares are in-house developed, right? So where I'm looking to leverage generative AI is for the new software development, or to transform the legacy one into the new emerging tech stack.
Okay.
So this is where, from an ROE perspective, right, I'm expecting to get at least 40% savings in terms of developing something from scratch.
Super.
This is something looking forward to.
So one different kind of use case I want to discuss with everyone. Since large language model comes, so we know that it can create the code, or it can generate the content, it can generate the video. But one of the problem which we all lending industry face, that we have a good underwriting policy, but still we see first payment default. And whatever model we build, after 2, 3, 4 months, still first payment default continues to grow. The challenge is that whenever we create normal AI ML model, we try to see the data pattern in the past. But the user try to always change their behavior. We end up training our model in every 3 months, 4 months, and we end up deploying it. So this generative AI has, in basic component, you see that there is a discriminator and a generator neural network model. If we can create such kind of model which can identify this change in pattern, by understanding the what pattern, suppose someone has given PAN card, it is little forged, or someone has given bank statement, some particular line is actually forged, or something has changed. So that model should be able to understand. So all the changing pattern, if generative AI can understand in future, then you don't have to change the model again and again. So this kind of use case I am trying to solve. I am sure that it will come up with some kind of accuracy in next 2, 3 months.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Let's go ahead. There are many more questions. Top 3 challenges. Can we have one challenge from 3 people?
Challenges, one challenge I will say is testing.
Testing.
Correct. So
Okay.
how I am going to testing, because it's going to be completely broad-based, correct? And it can go anywhere. So how I am going to, so pattern engineering, if I'm going to work on it and then I'm going to get it focused and then make it done. But still, I need to make sure, but for example, if somebody is going to ask some question about India First Life and then compare it to HDFC, and then it goes talking about HDFC Life, then my business is going to somewhere else. Correct. So what are all the things I'm going to, so it's something like whatever you can, like I said, that's why I said that it's a different animal which needs to be tamed. So use cases need to be really, really, if it is internal focused, yes, we can do many use cases. There are, like you mentioned about efficiency, we can do a lot of things. Copilot is something which is very, very useful and other things. But when it is going to be external facing, with customer facing, when it's going from a context based to something which is outside everything and anything, testing is becoming going to be very, very challenging.
Now, have you thought of how you're going to solve that problem or minimize that?
I think whatever we are training ourselves is just comforting ourselves it's going to work. But we haven't yet got anything, because unless and until it breaks and then it goes out, then only we'll be able to do. We have to find some ways. I don't have a solution at this point of time.
Okay. Who else?
Very briefly, I think the main challenge that will come, one of the main challenges here is, unlike the predictive AI, the points of failure cannot be quantified. In predictive AI, we know what the error can be, and there are methods to quantify that to a certain extent and mitigate. But in Gen AI, we will not know what comes up if it goes wrong. So I think it will be very hard to quantify. Of course, we'll see what comes up. But one of the ways to do this will be to see what is the implication of an error. And I think the projects that will kick off in the early stages are where the implication of an error are relatively low.
Okay, makes sense. From the tech teams, the Exponentia and DataBricks, what do you see as challenges in supporting these projects, being not just technically
Just
sound,
to add to what Subodh said,
but to achieve the business objectives?
Testing perspective, what he was talking about, I personally believe, somebody said earlier, the right business person now needs to be put in the place, because machine can do a lot of things, but the person who's actually implementing the use case should know more what is to be done. Okay. And as far as testing is concerned, these guardrails or checking the hallucination kind of thing, example which he said, one, if business person can envisage that, that can be actually tamed to some extent. Obviously, over a period of time, we will end up bettering it from time.
What challenges can tech companies handle and what can they not handle? We need clarity on that, I think.
Just wanted to add to the point of hallucination that you said, and it's a very important point, because this is something which we're not aware of, we have not seen. We are seeing it in bits and pieces as it advances over a period of time. I think one of the main reasons is that currently the way we model or the way we teach the models is we're teaching the model what's right, what's correct, what's happening, what's good. We have not thought through of teaching the model what's not right, what's not correct, what's not good, what's not in the in the realm of things. This doesn't fit into the ecosystem. If we don't start thinking on those lines, then over a period of time, the hallucination is going to become a much bigger problem, and then it can actually create a lot of issues.
So maybe we need an ethical hackers kind of roles.
Yeah,
in
what
this.
is right, what is wrong.
Yeah.
Correct.
Because ultimately models don't have beliefs, they don't have opinions, they don't have feelings, they don't have emotions. It's a pure binary, right, at the end of the day. How do you get that impact? That's the impact that then tells you where are the guardrails and how do you protect the IPR or the entire ecosystem.
I think that's a very good point you've made. Yes.
See, in the BFSI space, I mean, there is usually in all customer transactions is money involved. So the accuracy levels, I think, for what the output to the consumer will be, particularly when it's customer facing and is not internal, I think is paramount. I mean, it's the acceptance and I would say the explosion of reach would potentially really hinge on that. Because today when you use, let's say, Google Maps, right, it's not 98% accurate or 90% accurate, saying, it could take you to a different place on some occasions, right? If that starts to happen, then the faith and belief in a new technology, particularly when the consumers are expected to adopt it, and in BFSI, where there is usually a product of trust and faith as a kind of a bridge between the organization and the customer. If that kind of doesn't come through with the accuracy, then obviously backed by skill levels of people to be able to manage it, to be able to see accuracies and the end objective basis, training basis, maybe eliminating hallucination and all of that comes into picture. But that would basically hinge upon kind of really taking the technology from an experimentation stage to something which is then adopted across the different enterprises and organizations.
Essentially, one needs to go slow, test it, and not just roll out the whole thing in one go after complete testing.
Manoj, I want to add on to that, and it's a good point that even Subrata brought up. I think somewhere in a lot of these models, built-in biases will start really creating a problem as we go forward. And that's something that probably we will realize it as we go along. I guess there are certain companies who may have been way ahead on the curve and may have already experienced it, but it will start coming up because at the end of the day, a lot of this is, there are a lot of unknowns within that kind of a system and you don't know who's triggered what. So I think that is a challenge that one would see, whether it is creative or even on certain maybe underwriting decision-making models. If it has been built in or there was a challenge even with the content that was put in or what was put in there as a prompt somewhere, maybe where somebody 6 months ago will start playing up rather funnily somewhere is a real life challenge, and I think we in India will probably see a little more of it than many other countries.
Okay, because of our variety.
Because of our variety, assumptions, heterogeneity, etc., there could be that kind of thing. See, that anyway plays out, right? If you look at even normal human decision making, we are the way we behave is a function, and bias is not a negative word. Bias is a shortcut at the end of the day. So then certain other shortcuts there may start playing out in manners that we may not have envisaged at this stage.
Is there a technology solution to minimize these biases?
So I believe ethics plays a role here, right? Biases have been always there, right? Whatever we built, whether we built today or we built in past, biases will always there. I guess ethics will play a role here, as a gentleman said here. As far as banking is concerned, trust matters, faith matters, right? If your output levels are not accurate, right, the trust goes away. AI may bring efficiency, but then ethics will only bring the trust or keep the trust, right? So there has to be a balance between ethics and using the Gen AI kind of tools, right? So how do we implement ethics while we implement Gen AI would be a crucial factor here, is what I believe.
So can technology help kind of code the ethics or identify the bias, try to reduce the bias? Is there a technology angle to that?
On top of that output, you can have more of a rule-based validations checks that can be implemented to minimize the impact of those biases.
So it's not a tech hack, but what we are seeing with clients are they are putting more and more wrappers on top of their predictive models.
Okay.
And then they are using it twofold. Obviously to kind of eliminate the wrong output, but also to make it far more dynamic than a 3-month based retuning of the model. So every time you see a quick fluctuation within 15 days, within a peak season, they quickly tweak the rules on the top of the model. And in fact, for certain models, sometimes when we talk with clients, we say that you should do it with a wrapper. Because now the age-old models, they start throwing out poor results after some time.
See, the
It's
whole
not a tech solver.
The whole
So
idea
the
is
solution you're saying is a wrapper rather than something within, as of now.
Implemented, correct? Madam spoke about Avatar. So we implemented it 6 months ago. We trained in English, we trained in Hindi, we trained in Telugu, and one another language, Gujarati, correct? But when people started talking in English, it was not able to understand, correct? So now we are training it in various kind of colloquial stuff. We have shelved it now for the time being to train it because first it was the happy case and all, everything was going fine. Backtesting cases were fantastic. And now when we expose it to the Bharat, we face these kind of challenges. Correct. So yeah, it's 3 months since we are working on it, but we haven't yet got a breakthrough yet. We need to see.
Fair enough. That was my guess is English would have been a challenge or any combination. That's like another use case, another level of use case.
Kannada, Southern Kannada, they speak in a different way. Northern Kannada, they speak in a different way. So dialects are slightly different,
Dialects,
correct? And so yeah, when they are put to not a physical person, they tend to speak in their own this thing. They think that everything can be understood by the other person.
Correct. The more user friendly your system is, the more they will speak in their native dialect kind of.
So when we developed our conversation analytics platform, the team first, the second language they picked up post English was English, and then they moved. Yeah, so we started with that as an offering because yeah, the same challenge which they faced, we had prior experience. So our product started with English, now Marathi. That's how we did it.
Interesting.
Okay, most of these challenges that we spoke about are pertaining to the outcome of generative AI implementation of projects, right? So I would also want to say that as a part of preparedness for using generative AI, most of the Indian organizations will also have to revisit their entire data strategy and data ecosystems, right? So probably having the right architecture, doing the right cataloging, right? Because most of the thought has gone into models, analytics side of things, and less about data, right? So there's going to be a requirement about having a look at data, ability to structure the data in a way that it can be used appropriately, and also in a way that the asks of the Personal Data Protection Act or the GDPRs would ask for. So a lot of work needs to be done around data pipelining and data architecture to enable us to unleash the power of generative AI.
That's true. Yeah, sounds good. That makes sense actually. And in fact, I think every time you come up with some kind of revolutionary technology, this kind of restructuring at the ground level is required. We want to talk about governance and compliance challenges. 1 or 2 points quickly, if your compliance teams are raising some questions.
Mainly around the data and the infra, whosoever you are partnering with, where is the data? What part of that is outside India? What is inside India? What are you sharing? What are the things? I think that's the biggest thing. So this is one which is known right now, but I'm sure over a period of time, a lot of laws will come around it. So maybe that's the next thing to watch out for.
Okay.
So once those things come up, I think that's the thing to be seen.
Any other compliance or governance?
So again, I am representing the equity markets industry here. I am part of Sher Khan. Content creation and areas related to content creation are a very important use case of Gen AI. But there is a severe amount of regulatory considerations that are required before we put out content in the market, right? So that is something that compliance is very, very particular about. So we cannot say that a particular stock X, Y, and Z is going to go up by X%, or there are regulations around that. And so it does require a filter, a compliance filter or a human filter to work on top of Gen AI, right? To filter out the content in a way that it can be presented to the end consumer. So that is an important consideration that compliance has about anything that is. So a manual proofreading ultimately is something that is a compliance requirement when it comes to usage of Gen AI, when it comes to marketing use cases.
I just want to add one more point. Equally important to governance and compliance is the brand. what you're representing outside tomorrow, that
Absolutely.
has a big impact, maybe bigger than a governance and compliance. So because it's about your company image, what you're presenting to the customer. So I
Correct.
think that's what is another challenge which has to be addressed with this. Because if the, for example, is bot is giving a incorrect answer or something which the customer, it can blow up to a big brand issue for the organization as well.
Correct, correct, absolutely.
Now, since lot of alternate data being used to create and develop model, so having a right consent from the customer and whatever is being going to be used in the future, that's only data you should capture. That is something is very important. Earlier was the thought, whatever data comes, let's capture it and then we'll think what to do with it. With coming data protection bill and lot of regulation things are coming, I think people are now, at least what we are doing, capture only those data points which are being helpful to do the underwriting, and our model is using it already.
Very, very,
Very important
point. Very important.
In fact, one of the NBFCs got pulled up recently on the consent, part, right? See, as DataBricks, we saw this need of governance very early on, and we have built a phenomenal governance layer on top of both data engineering and data science. Okay, so our offering there is called Unity Catalog. I would actually request all of you to check that out if you have governance related needs. What it does, you spoke about cataloging, obviously metadata management is very important. Shalu spoke about lineage. Where is the data coming in from? Who is it going to? How is it being consumed? Does the user have the rights to consume that data? So lineage is very, very important when it comes to governance. We pretty much address all of that and much more. Okay, and the best part of of the offering is that, as I said again, I'm going to repeat, it is equally considerate on both sides. With the data engineering, traditionally there have been a lot of governance which is built on the data engineering side, but how do you bring the same lineage on the data science side, right? Especially when you have ML model serving, how do you ensure that lineage? And even if the data leaves your organization tomorrow, because there's a lot of data sharing that all of you do, how do you ensure that you have the lineage sitting on top of it? That is what we do, and we it's something that we introduced less than 2 years ago. We have more than 5,000 customers today on Unity Catalog. So nearly half of our 11,000 customers are already on Unity Catalog.
Do you also have some kind of technology for that layer, wrapper layer, where people want to build controls on what goes out?
Absolutely, absolutely. See, governance is the single most driving factor for all of the organizations going forward. You look at last 5 years, all of the actions taken by central bank or IRDA or any of the regulators in the country, they have to do with the governance. Okay, and hence we firmly believe as an organization that is the front and center when you're building your data architecture.
Okay.
It is really the foremost thing that every organization needs to account for when you're building your data architecture.
Sounds good. Do you think the fixes will be easy or difficult? Let's have a vote. How many think it's going to be easy and manageable? No one.
It is contextual,
But overall.
The answer also lies in the education part of this entire Gen AI. When I say education, is this being known to your tech guys in the organization? Or each and every employee of your organization knows what is Gen AI and what it can do? Now, if each of your employees are aware, right, that this is the capability of Gen AI, then I guess some of these weaknesses and gaps will automatically go down.
Correct.
Because you'll have more brains towards it, and as you were discussing, the experts, right, the real business users, when they kind of step into this and own this piece rather than the tech teams, owning it,
right?
I guess then it's going to solve, right? Because see, at the end of the day, the tech teams will have and not taking otherwise, but we'll have that limited, kind of vision, right? From a real business use case standpoint. It is the actual user who can actually give you.
Correct.
And it's not about the heads, of the department knowing about it. It is that last mile. That front end guy should be able to give you the use case and should be able to test all of these.
Mm-hmm. So I think one, whether you call it challenge or opportunity, is that the number of use cases for generative AI is going to be so huge. Just managing that is going to be another challenge. It's good, it's okay to manage 10 projects in a year, but to manage 100 projects in a year is a completely different ball game. So you guys will have to prepare for that internally in some way.
Frankly, I do see, talent issue coming up. The way this entire piece is going up, do we have so many people who really know about it?
So AI use case or generative AI use case, when it's narrow and pointed to specific use case, then it's going to be easy. If you have made the use case very broad, then it's very difficult to manage.
I think that's a very good point. Very keen observation. With the infrastructure cost for this, lots of GPU being needed for training, subscription models, whatever it is, the talent cost. Is this, what kind of impediments do you see in starting new use cases and scaling up whatever use cases have been developed? What do your CFOs, what kind of questions are CFOs asking?
I think it's a big impediment at this point of time. It's opportunity versus reality is wide right now. There are a lot which comes as a use case, but obviously when you go into the costing part of it, it is not turning out to be an ROE. Of course, the eyebrows are raised, right from CFOs to even the people on ground who wants to implement. So I think the only way out right now is on the prioritization, which I said earlier also. And maybe over a period of time, the cost has to come down.
If I may ask Anand, where's Anand?
And Manoj, just to add to that point, the way we look at it is, do you really want to do it as a hobby or you want to do it for scale? Right? If you want to do it for scale, the costing will be taken care of. If you're doing it for hobby, just to prove that way, everybody is talking about Gen AI. Now somebody in the board member also said that, what are you doing about Gen AI? Now in the next board meeting, I have to present something on Gen AI, so I'm going to do something. If that's the objective, this costing issue will remain.
Okay.
Because I'm a strong believer, ROI we were talking about, right? You can actually prove ROI positive for anything.
Okay.
For according to me, there is nothing ROI negative. It's you.
But
who's
how much,
going to make it.
how much ROI is the issue?
See, again, the scale will come. The ROI, how much will get resolved.
Yeah,
it is the issue of scale. Nothing else.
You're right. So without scale, there won't be an ROI, literally speaking.
Okay, I look at it as, from a slightly different perspective. Firstly, as practitioners, we have to be razor sharp with our use cases. And hence, there's a very paramount importance associated with business translation. Everybody talks about data skills. Everybody talks about math skills. Having skills around business translations. Dhando, इससे पैसा कैसे बनाओगे? इसकी clarity we should have within the organizations. That's number one. The rising infrastructure costs. This is a typical build versus buy decision that CFOs ask us, whether you want to build it in-house or whether you want to buy it, right? And the nice answer to that is we buy to build, right? So we buy components to build that, right?
Okay.
So there, obviously that's been one of the pull for me to attend this session, right? So there are going to be institutions like DataBricks, right? And this fraternity, wherein they have an expertise in a particular area, and then they'll have to come on board and actually consult with the practitioners, telling them, look, in a certain part of the ROI calculation, don't worry about it. We'll ensure that there are efficiencies and the costs will be managed. Secondly, the infrastructure also has to take into consideration the new regulations that are coming up. For example, I just wanted to take forth from the point that I think Virendra mentioned, right? the asks of the PDP bill are going to be very, very sharp, right? What they're going to say is, tomorrow if a client asks, you should be in a position to delete all his data elements in your system. Is the infrastructure today capable of doing that and establishing that, yes, we have deleted? That's one. Second, it's not just about me as an organization. It is also about my partners, right? The third-party providers who are helping me open my accounts, who are helping me complete my transactions, they have to be data protection policies compliant. All this will require a lot of help from the ecosystem members of the data world. And that is what, as industry practitioners, we expect from the players who bring expertise to the table.
Okay, yes.
If I may, see, I think both of them brought very relevant points. One is the scale. Okay, we were working with one of the largest banks. Earlier, they were taking about 11 weeks to build a model. Today, they are deploying 2, sometimes 3 models a week. Okay, so I look at scale a little differently, here.
Okay.
Okay. And Suyog brought a very interesting point about the buy versus a platform. Okay, we are a platform. We are a platform play, and hence our customers are really able to leverage all aspects of the platform, and this just becomes one more aspect of it, rather than you going out in the market and buying point solutions and stitching the whole stack together. And there is no, I'm not here advocating A versus B really, but the fact of the matter is that these will become big differentiators, going forward as companies start scaling these journeys.
Okay. So is the way CFOs or any business head looks at costing among your 11,000 odd customers, for example, has that changed over the past 6 months, 12 months since generative AI came in?
So again, I think that was Ankit, right? Ankit made a very, very pertinent point. Initially, it was all about somebody at the boardroom, at the C-suite level, asking for हमारे company का भी झंडा गाड़ो. Okay, get our name out there. So put a use case in our name. I think from there on, a lot of CTOs, CDOs, CIOs have charted a path where they have very clearly said that we will do this and we will not do this.
Okay.
A lot of that comes out of obviously experimentation and learning. Okay, but increasingly they're saying that scale, and his point of building a use case that addresses larger problems to start with and starting to showcase that outcomes. I don't think CFOs say no. In fact, we've got more CFOs who sit in our reviews and in our QBRs who are saying, show me more, give me more use cases that we can deploy.
It's not cost, but the
conversation is
output.
Completely changed to value now.
Value.
It's not a cost conversation anymore.
What about Exponentia? Is it same or different, or some other approach that you see in terms of cost versus value?
Yeah, from the Exponentia perspective, we have done 2 or 3 implementations on Gen AI. So I would echo what Hemant has said. CFOs and CXOs, they want to see more value coming. They are little less worried on the cost side at this point of time. So.
Okay. So I think that could be the new trend. That probably is the new trend. This we kind of covered. Will generative AI nudge the slow adopters to start using public cloud? So in the financial sector, particularly in banks, there has been reluctance to move on to public cloud because of regulatory concerns, cybersecurity concerns, maybe cost concerns, I don't know. But do you see cloud adoption changing as more and more generative AI-driven projects come into being? Anyone here considers their organization as a leading adopter of cloud?
Most of us are, at least our organization is on cloud. But I
Do you see it accelerating because of this opportunity?
It depends. See, if the banks, you are yourself saying they are not moved, and there are reasons to it why they have not moved, and there are certain regulatory aspects to it also which they have not moved. Um, if they have their infra layer already ready for this piece, will they move? I don't know. I don't think so. Right? So there will be other reasons why they should be moving, not for this. Because first, we also spoke about what are the next 12 months. So are they seeing a big use cases coming their way? Only then I think they will be moving.
Okay.
So we are 5-year-old or 6-year-old organization. We are completely on cloud, right? When we started on cloud. Of course, AI was not the reason to start on a cloud. I don't know how much AI will impact those decisions, but then I see more and more organizations coming up on cloud, right? All I see new age NBFCs or fintechs, right? They have been adopting to cloud, right? Because time to implementation is very fast. Overall manpower required to manage the entire stuff, that is quite efficient. Right, so cloud has its own benefits. I don't think AI has an influence on those decisions.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. So whether for legacy organizations, will it help? I don't know. I mean, legacy organizations will think from different perspectives. Whether AI will add to it or not can be a question. But then there are a lot of aspects
So no
for legacy
definitive
organizations.
answer.
Yeah.
Okay. You were saying something?
I think the financial aspect also comes in because it takes away your headache of the capex that you need to manage when you are actually implementing everything in house and you're trying to run the show, right? So with capex, the entire fund gets stuck. You have to manage the whole ecosystem, spend a lot of money on top of it, and run the entire piece yourself. Whereas when you move on to the cloud, you get the global expertise and you get the entire security taken care of because globally every other customer is using it, so it's highly secure. It's centralized, so cost efficiency comes in, scale goes up, reliability goes up, fast turnaround time to market goes up. So everything becomes positive in that sense, right? And your liquidity, management of the liquidity is far higher compared to what you were doing earlier.
Okay.
So you can
So are finance CFOs kind of people asking, is this approach better versus that? Is that kind of a common discussion in your organization?
So we are again on the journey of using the cloud, and different practitioners across the table are at different part of the journey. But cloud may have started as an economy game, but it's not just an economy game anymore, right? It's not about cloud versus on-prem from a cost perspective. It's not. It is about how do you structure your ecosystem to leverage the value, the benefits from the cloud, the kind of things that Pawan mentioned, right? We should be in a position to leverage the value of the cloud. It is at a point in time, the economy's advantage doesn't seem big.
Let's put it the other way around. Let's put it I accept your point. But many organizations now are saying that whatever new we develop is going to be AI native, cloud native, something else native, something leading edge native. Again, from that perspective, do you see some kind of preference to have all these new things native?
That's absolutely right. I mean, a lot of new development is happening only on the cloud, right? So your organization needs to have the infrastructure, the skeleton to absorb the cloud-based innovation. If you're not able to do that, then you're missing those high points.
Right. Because I'm sure these solutions are going to need a good amount of maintenance, and not you build once and deploy for 5 years. And you have to keep updating and upgrading and transforming them for business purpose or for regulatory purpose. What technologies do you already have that will help you start your journey with generative AI? And what technologies do you think are essential to start? What you don't have, but you have to bring in? Any observations on this technology angle?
It's again the ability to have the right data pipelining and data ecosystem in place. For a lot of organizations, the data ecosystem that is required for doing classical statistical modeling or the supervised machine learning, that broadly is adequate. But the kind of ecosystem that will be required for adopting generative AI to its fullest capabilities, the data strategy, the data pipelining would have to undergo a lot of change, and that is where the real leveraging of technologies will happen, right? The math part of it, the mathematical part of it, okay, that is equally important, but probably that is slightly more, seems manageable kind of thing. But most of the leaders who are working on Gen AI projects scale up, right? Experiments are happening in most of the organizations, but making it big will require us a lot of thinking that needs to go into the data side of it.
So is the thing that I hear about data mesh, data fabric, are they good enough, or you need a new generation?
Exactly. I mean, institutions like DataBricks, right, and they will have a large role to play in making practitioners capable of unleashing the power of generative AI, and also meeting the requirements of regulators across, be it SEBI, RBI, IRDA, or the Data Protection Authority that is getting created, right? Being able to answer that and being able to bring wonderful experience to our clients. To do that, we need expertise on the data side.
But does the DataBricks platform focus only on new age applications? Are you able to support core banking and all those legacy kind of applications in some way?
So I'm going to take a step back. See, basically, our platform addresses data warehousing needs and data lake needs. Okay, we are the pioneer of the term lakehouse, which means it's a single source of truth, the data that you have, which you can use both on the data engineering, which is really your static data, your the data coming in from your traditional sources like core banking, core insurance, ERP, etc., and marry that with the voice, video, a lot of unstructured, semi-structured data which is getting created today, and large amount of data creation which is happening today is actually from the unstructured and semi-structured sources. So our ability to integrate that is what differentiates us as DataBricks. Okay. And then governance on top of it, and whole host of services that we offer. So on the point that you mentioned, obviously we have to comply to pretty much every country where we operate. We have to comply to the to the laws, whether to do with the security laws or whether to do with the data protection laws. We have to comply, and that is what we constantly keep building into our platform. Okay. And on the point I think made by someone, you also made it. We are indeed investing heavily on training and skilling and scaling the whole ecosystem. The amount of investment that we will end up doing on the POCs with our customers will probably have to invest twice more money on just building the ecosystem.
Okay. And for Exponentia, when you engage with clients, like you said, some few clients you've engaged with for generative AI projects, how much of that component involves data management and fine-tuning that?
Yeah, so there are 2-3 projects that we have executed recently. So we are leveraging DataBricks as a platform there as well. So implementing Mosaic ML as one of the components, which is an LLM-based platform. So for the generative AI use cases. So in one of the recent use cases, which we are doing it for one of the world's biggest adhesive companies. So the idea is to generate insights in a very efficient manner. To enable the sales team better. So they have a lot of product catalogs, and there are changes keeps happening in the product catalog. How can you nudge the sales team in, whatever new product features which are coming,
Okay.
And in such large organization, there is a lot of attrition. So you have to keep enabling the sales team. It's a part of the revenue maximization game. So that's how we are doing it right now.
Okay. Thank you all. Thank you very much.